Welcome to this explainer. Today we're taking a magnifying glass to the Hiblow HP80 air pump. Whether you're managing an intensive aquaculture setup, keeping a massive multi-tank aquarium system pristine, reviving a backyard pond, or keeping a septic system breathing, your air pump is the literal heart of your system. So we're going to break down the capabilities, the pros, and the cons of one of the most popular models on the market.
Look, we hear a ton of wild claims in the pond and aquarium industries, right? But today we are cutting straight through the marketing fluff to see if this aerator truly lives up to its heavy-duty reputation. We're talking actual data, real-world troubleshooting, and the gritty reality of long-term maintenance.
To get to the bottom of this, we'll quickly cover 5 things: meeting the HP80, its power and reliability, electricity costs, real-world troubleshooting, and the rebuild reality.
All right, part 1, meet the Hiblow HP80. Let's just look at the baseline specs here. The HP80 pushes a really solid 80 liters of air per minute, but what's crazy is it keeps the noise down to just 36 decibels. To put that into perspective, that's quieter than a standard indoor conversation, or roughly the hum of your kitchen fridge. It maxes out at a continuous pressure of 3.6 psi while drawing 71 watts. It's also fully UL rated for outdoor use, meaning it's literally designed to live out in the elements, though, giving it a protective cover is always a smart move to stretch out its lifespan.
Moving right along to part 2, power and reliability. Here's where the HP80 really shines. It is built for depth and durability. It can safely push air down to the bottom of a 10-foot pond, or a really deep custom aquarium setup without breaking a sweat. Depth creates intense back pressure, and cheaper pumps, they simply burn out trying to fight it. The HP80 handles it beautifully. Plus, its oilless design means you aren't accidentally pumping toxic lubricants into your delicate aquatic ecosystem. And if it ever does run too hot, a built-in thermal protection switch shuts it down, and an integrated alarm lets you know immediately.
And users completely back this up. Customer testimonials constantly call this thing an absolute beast of a pump. They talk about it running seamlessly for years, they love the customer support, and note that it can push air over incredibly long distances through PVC piping without losing pressure. When they say beast, they mean it can take a beating in real-world conditions and just keep breathing.
Okay, but it can't all be perfect, right? Part 3, the cons, specifically electricity and cost. This comparison brilliantly illustrates the primary trade-off. You get massive power for deep water with the HP80, but it eats up more electricity and space compared to the highly efficient XP series. And because the HP uses heavier copper electromagnets, it draws 71 watts. So if you're running an off-grid solar setup or your aquarium or pond is fairly shallow, like under 8 feet, you might actually be better off with the XP series, which uses rare earth magnets and draws way less power. The HP80 buys you that 10-foot depth capability, but yeah, you will pay for it slightly on your monthly utility bill.
Let's pivot to part 4, real-world troubleshooting. Say your pump suddenly just stops. Don't panic. These 3 diagnostic steps are going to be your best friend. A lot of times, the pump isn't even broken. Over time, the diffuser at the bottom of your tank or pond can get clogged with silt, muck, or biomat. When the air has nowhere to go, it creates massive back pressure. The HP80 works harder, runs hot, triggers its thermal overload protection, and flashes that solid red alarm light. So before you assume the pump is dead, let it cool down and check your lines for blockages. Here's another pro tip straight from the field. Watch out for vibrating PVC connections. Aerators vibrate, it's just the nature of the machine. Over time, those standard slip or threaded PVC fittings right near the pump outlet can wiggle loose. When this happens, all that precious 80 liter per minute air is just blowing pointlessly into your yard instead of reaching your fish. Upgrading to a spring-lock compression fitting isolates that vibration and keeps your whole system airtight.
Finally, part 5, the rebuild reality. Take a look at this Reddit user's maintenance timeline. It's actually a perfect example of what to expect. While the housing itself lasts practically forever, the internal parts do need rebuilding every 4 to 6 years. Installed in 2011, first rebuild in 2016, second in 2019, third in 2023. Inside these pumps are rubber diaphragms that stretch back and forth thousands of times a minute. Eventually, that rubber tears. But rebuilding it is a super standard, easy chore that costs a fraction of the price of a brand new unit.
But, and this is a big but, this same user learned a really hard lesson during their 2023 rebuild. They tried to save a few bucks by buying a generic, off-brand rebuild kit online instead of the official manufacturer version. And well, the pump immediately started failing again.
So the absolute crucial takeaway for your maintenance routine is to strictly use OEM,
original equipment manufacturer kits. The HP80 relies on a very specific threaded safety screw to keep the electrical circuit closed. If a diaphragm breaks, this screw snaps to cut the power and save the motor. Generic kits often supply cheap, poorly threaded screws that vibrate loose, constantly shutting your pump down even when the diaphragms are perfectly fine. Just don't cheap out on the safety screw, it's not worth the headache.
If you stick to that rebuild schedule and keep your airlines clear, you can expect a total lifespan of 10 to 12 years out of this unit. Getting over a decade of continuous 24/7 runtime out in the harsh elements, simply by swapping out a few rubber parts twice a decade, is exactly why this model is legendary in the industry.
So, based on all the data, the HP80 is a proven, heavy-duty solution. But it leaves us with one final question to ponder. Is this the right balance of power and maintenance for you? If you have a shallow pond and high electricity rates, maybe the XP series is your guy. But if you demand unwavering power to push air to the bottom of a deep septic system, a huge pond, or a massive aquarium, and you don't mind a quick rebuild every 5 years, the HP80 is absolutely your best bet. Think about your depth, your budget, and your maintenance tolerance. Which side of the scale does your project tip toward?